What if what's blocking your ideal life has been hidden from you on purpose? You see, shadow work is the missing piece the powerful and elites guard closely, erasing subconscious limits for real transformation. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how shadow work works and share proven, straightforward techniques to help you break through so that there's no guesswork and you're just getting results. So before we jump into what shadow work is, just understand that it truly is a game changer. And this isn't just talk or information I'm going to throw at you. I'm going to show you that this is very real with very real results. And I'm assuming you're here not just to feel a little better or to distract yourself, but to get actual change and results in your life. And shadow work is absolutely going to help you do that. And in my own life, just to start, shadow work was an absolute game changer. You know, it helped me remove and release barriers and blocks I had since childhood and things I picked up as I moved along. And it helped me get to the point where I'm at now, where I have a really amazing six-figure business that I absolutely love. And I want to basically hone in on that point. It's not just earning that amount of money, but it's also loving what I do while earning it. Because a lot of people can earn a little bit more money, but then don't like what they're doing or feel trapped by the job. I've never felt more free in my life. Now, not only that, but this allowed me to travel the world and go to so many different countries, and I have so many more planned on the way. I experienced real, true freedom in my life. Financial freedom, location freedom, where I got to do what I wanted when I wanted. And so basically I get to decide my own schedule, when I do things, when I don't, you know, what I want to take on board, what I want to not take on board. It also helped me attract in my dream partner, who I've now actually started a family with, and it's been one of the greatest things in my life thus far. And again, I want to emphasize that it not only worked for me, I'm not special in this, I just discovered these things, got to work with some great people, and did it for many years and had these experiences as a result. And I've been sharing what I've been doing with clients, and I've had hundreds of clients, again, who have done shadow work with me and have seen profound results from doing this. It is consistently, like I said, one of the most effective tools I help them dive deep with that lead to incredible results. More than I could ever show here, even though you are seeing some on screen now. So I share these results so that you know this will also work for you. That this is something that actually works. That if you're actually looking for tangible results in your life, I've done that, I've helped others do it, and what I'm going to share with you today is going to help you do the same if you're ready to pay attention and actually do the work and trust the process. So now let's jump into what shadow work is, and I'm also going to give you some stuff, again, practically that you can use in this video right when you're done, that you can start applying so you're getting some of these results as well. So first, really quick, we need to cover what shadow work is. Now, this can go by many names. You know, we could call this releasing, clearing out blocks, clearing techniques. Letting go is another term that's pretty synonymous with this. But it's essentially looking at the unseen parts of ourselves. Many people have called this the actual shadow. It's like that unconscious part of yourself that is still a part of you, but we rarely look at. And it is operating in the background and a lot of times dictating your behavior, your thoughts, and things you're doing. So if you've ever noticed that you sometimes do things without realizing it, and it's kind of detrimental or seems like self-sabotage, or you think certain things that are not really how you want to think, but it just seems so hard not to, or you get triggered by certain things, a lot of this is coming from your shadow, this unseen part of yourself. And what shadow work is going to do is going to help the unseen become seen, the unconscious become conscious. And when it becomes conscious, when it becomes seen, it starts to clear out the shadow. It starts to brighten up the darkness so that this is no longer affecting you. And there are many different techniques we can use in order to look at the unseen, to bring it up, to confront it in a way that allows it to do what it needs to do or run its course, so that you gain that energy back. When you have a very large shadow that's been unseen for a very long time, it becomes very difficult to function, and especially to create what you want in your life. If you're not doing this work, it becomes damn near impossible, because you could be layering on different things you're adding. But if these blocks are there, you'll always get to a point where you can pass no further. You'll always get to a point where there's gunk in the hose pipe and you're trying to get through and you can't because that blockage is there. Or you're going down the pathway you want to go down in life, right, on the journey, and these brick walls keep showing up. Shadow work is what's going to allow us to more elegantly, calmly, and in flow release these walls, release these blocks, so you can move more naturally with more energy and also get to things you want to get to a lot quicker. Now, an analogy I've come up with that I think illustrates this very well is called the energetic anchors. And so what I want you to imagine is you are suspended in water, and it's okay. In this analogy, you can breathe, you have gills, whatever, you got a suit on that helps you breathe, and a diver suit with oxygen that never runs out, right? So you're in this water and you're suspended in the water. Now, we all know what happens if you're suspended in water and you don't do anything, right? You're naturally buoyant, so you will start to float up towards the surface. Now, in this example, I want you to imagine that the higher you go up towards the surface, so the higher you float up in the water, the better things get in your life. So this is the higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of energy, higher ability to manifest and create your reality. This is more happiness, this is more freedom, this is more abundance and money and better relationships. They all exist closer to the surface as you start moving up. Now, the depths, it's the opposite. This is represented by lower levels of consciousness. So if you're going down towards the depths, which we'll get into how that happens, you're going to have more struggle in your life. You're probably going to have more pain and suffering. You're going to have really tumultuous relationships and things like that. At the lower levels of consciousness, your life becomes very incoherent and unnecessarily chaotic. At the higher levels, the more you go up, the more coherent and beautified your life becomes in pretty much all areas. So what is it that causes us to go down to the depths? Well, it's what I call energetic anchors. There are these anchors, or again, we could say it's the shadow, that pull you down towards the depths, where if you did not have these anchors, you would naturally start to float up. This is why shadow work is so effective, because what it essentially allows us to do is look directly at the anchor instead of ignoring it like most people do, or being unaware of it like a lot of people are. We are able to then look at the anchor and start to release it through the techniques that I'm going to give you in this video. Now, what happens if you're at a certain place in the water and you're just kind of in this default place, and it's probably pretty low, but if you're in this place and you have these anchors that are kind of keeping you in this place, and you release, let's say, one of the bigger anchors, what's naturally going to happen? You're going to start floating up a little higher, which means you're now going to be in a higher level of coherence, a higher level of energy, a higher level of vibration naturally. And the only thing you had to do that was release the anchor. And so this is why people get really profound results when they do shadow work and letting go, because they've released these anchors. They naturally start to rise to this new vibration, this new place, which allows for new results to come in. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with people, and we've done this at a deep level, cleared some pretty meaty anchors, and then immediately more money came in, or immediately a relationship was mended. Actually, that's one that happens a lot of times, really, like with a daughter or a parent or a loved one or something else. Like they'll just reach out or something will happen. There'll be this mending, and again, increased coherence in their life almost immediately, because you'll be surprised how many things have been trying to come in that just couldn't get in. They're right on the edge of coming in, but because of the blocks and the anchors, they keep hitting a brick wall. And once that's released, they can come in pretty quickly. And so shadow work allows us to release these anchors so you can naturally start to rise, which is why, again, it provides such quick results in a lot of cases. One other thing that happens if you don't do shadow work and you don't confront this energy, shine the light on the shadow, make the unseen seen, the unconscious conscious, is your energy system in your body is malfunctioning. It's not functioning properly. And this is a big thing, because if the energy system of your body, and you can look at Chinese medicine and other areas that kind of show that this is the case, things like EFT will show the energy center, I believe yoga, all these different things. You have an energy system in your body. And if it's not functioning properly, it becomes very hard to create. And it becomes very easy to be in the lower levels of consciousness. When you actually release anchors, there's a corresponding place in your energetic body, we could call it, that there's a block. And there's actually certain modes or modalities, and I'm going to go over one in this video, a very powerful one, that can help you identify exactly where in your body these blocks are. And so when you release the anchor energetically, it also releases it physically. A lot of times when people have clearings, they'll shed tears. That's a release. They'll yawn. That's what I do all the time. I yawn when I'm doing clearings, like these huge yawns, like this energy is just coming up and being released. People will sometimes get coughing fits. They'll sneeze a lot. Sometimes they'll laugh, but there'll be this physical correspondence to releasing the anchor, because you're actually clearing something that is inside of you in your body. And when you do that, this energetic system can now actually function properly, whereas before it was blocked, like a hose pipe where the energy can't get through. And do you think you're going to be able to create more or less when this energy system is online versus offline? Well, of course, when it's online, you will. Releasing these anchors allows this energy system to get back online. For example, if you struggle with having energy, this is going to be a huge energetic boost when you actually have this online. If you struggle with motivation, This is going to be another one. Get this back online. You're not going to struggle with motivation because your energy system is now functioning. And the vast majority of people on the planet right now are walking around with a dysfunctional energetic system because they have all of these anchors pulling them down, all of these blocks, all of this gunk in their energetic body. And so the energy is not flowing naturally. It is not flowing powerfully. It is blocked. It is stuffed up and not allowing you to do what you want to do. So obviously we want to get this back online and clear these anchors, which is exactly what we're now going to go over. Now, before we do that, I want to go over something that I find is a question I get a lot from clients and others when they approach shadow work, because it can seem overwhelming. What if I have a ton of anchors? What if I'm so blocked up? What do I work on? What do I start with? So let's go over that a little bit, because it's kind of a misconception that you need to go and clear everything that you possibly could think of. It isn't true. Now, would that be beneficial? Yes and no, because if you become neurotic about this, it's going to become detrimental. You're going to get way too in your head about it, probably end up creating more gunk and anchors because of that. And it's a very rare person that goes on the pathway to become what we could call 100% clear. Does that person exist? Yes. Is it me or you? Most likely? No. In the same way, it's not everyone's path to become a monk. Well, wouldn't that be good? Isn't meditating good? Isn't getting present and doing all this stuff, being in nature good? Yeah, sure. But it might not be your pathway to be a monk and go meditate on a mountain somewhere, right? It doesn't mean you can't use the benefits of meditation and silence and being in nature, right? You're just not going to that level of extreme because there are other things that you're looking to accomplish or do, and that's your dharma, right? So with clearing, it's the same thing. We don't have to go about it like we need to clear absolutely everything. What we want to focus on first is becoming functional again, getting the energy system back online, because when that's not happening, again, it's just almost impossible to create because you're almost fighting yourself to muster up energy to do anything. If you notice you're very inconsistent with your manifestations or doing things towards that, it's probably because your energy system's online or keeps getting knocked offline. So here's the way I suggest you go about it instead. Now, when you first go to do shadow work, there's going to be a handful of things that come up as obvious to clear. And so you want to write these things down first. There's going to be like, oh, there's been these 3 or 4 things, that come up immediately because I know they're a problem. I am aware of them. I just didn't know how to clear them, or I've been putting them off. So these are the ones to start with, the obvious ones that have your attention because they've been kind of knocking at the door for a very long time, trying to get your attention to be cleared or to be restored back to you, as in the energy back to you, to be integrated, and you haven't done it. So these are the first to clear, right? Because they're the most obvious, they're the loudest. However, after you have cleared the loudest things, you basically can go from the mindset of clearing as you go. And what this means is once you've gotten those initial ones out of the way, life will absolutely present you with what you need to clear as you are continually moving forward, evolving, progressing, and succeeding in the ways that you want. You'll notice this because as you go down your path of growth and what you're doing, you'll feel bad, you'll notice triggers, you'll notice how you react, and these are all things pointing at certain anchors. And so when you're going down the pathway you want to go down, the things you actually want to bring in your life, these triggers, these blocks, these things that don't feel so good will present themselves, and then you start clearing as those things come up. Essentially, you're being given feedback on exactly what you should clear to go down the pathway that you want to travel down. Now, if you went down a completely different pathway, could potentially different things come up? Absolutely. But you're not going down that pathway. For example, if you are afraid of driving a car, but you don't want to drive and you're never going to drive, you probably don't need to clear that thing. However, if you are going to drive a car and you're afraid of driving, then you probably should clear that because it's relevant to the path you're going on. Now, maybe that's a bad example because a lot of people drive who are probably watching this, but you get the idea. You don't have to unearth absolutely every little thing and spend all your time doing that. Just get those initial things out of the way to clear and then do it on the go. What is coming up? Life will absolutely present you with exactly what you need to clear to move in the direction you want to go. So you don't need to overwhelm yourself and try and do all this other stuff. And if you clear that stuff on the go, you will suddenly become functional. Your system will be back online. And as soon as it goes offline because a fear comes up or something comes up because you're on path, you will then know how to clear it through the techniques we're going to go over in just a minute. Now, what I would say is before we get into the techniques or before the end of this video, if anything's coming up, I would write down some of the things that are coming up that you think are potential anchors. Don't worry about getting this wrong. You just want to start listing out some potentials that you know are a problem for you. So let's jump into some of the techniques that you can utilize. Now, I'm going to go over essentially two techniques that are relatively known, right? You may have heard about them before. And then I'm going to go over another one that is unknown, but probably one of the most impactful. However, it does take a little longer to learn, so I want to give you these other two first, which don't take that long to learn at all. It's just a matter of actually doing them. So these first two are basically called the Hawkins technique, after David Hawkins, who literally wrote the book on letting go. These are very, very simple, basically meditative, where you're going to, again, bring the unseen into the scene and then just observe it. So there's two ways to do this technique. You can do a shortened version of it, and this is perfect for in-the-moment triggers. So let's say you're going through your life and you don't have time to take 30 minutes or whatever else to really go after a big anchor, but something's coming up. Let's say you're going, let's call it an iceberg, like you're going to clear this iceberg in your life, and a big chunk of it pops off in the moment and comes up as you're going through your day. This will allow you to clear whatever that is. Now, it won't clear the whole iceberg, but will clear that big chunk, which makes it less powerful, and also it will help you to identify what the anchor is, so you can go back and use some other technique in order to clear it fully later. But let's say this chunk comes up. This is a very simple technique that takes about a minute or two that you can do. Now, the first thing is to become aware, right? So you need to be aware that you're triggered or reacting. That's usually how you know something's happening, right? So a lot of times when we react, we get triggered. We almost don't realize it's happening because what's happening? We're unconscious, right? We're in the unseen. And then you need to snap yourself out of it, become alert, become aware, and realize that's happened, and take a step back and go, okay, I just got triggered. I just got caught. I just got snagged. What is this, right? And that's when we go into identifying what it is and where it is. So become aware, okay, something got me. I got angry, I got frustrated, someone said something, whatever it is, and I'm now in the lower level of consciousness. I'm now in a lower level of energy. So now we take a step back, and we need to identify what it is. So as clearly as you can in an emotional language, so basically, is it anger, is it fear, is it apathy, is it whatever, that's how we want to identify this. And then see if you can identify or locate where it is in your body. Like I mentioned, there will usually be a corresponding place in your body where this emotion is. And if you take a moment, you'll realize, yeah, there's some tension in my stomach. There's some tension in my chest, or a feeling in my chest, in my head. Maybe it's in a leg, maybe wherever it is. And you want to identify and locate where it is. Now, the next thing we want to do, once you know where it is and you've labeled it, is you want to disassociate or disidentify with whatever it is, right? So a lot of times when we become angry, we become triggered, we start believing we are the thing, right? So we're anger, we're frustration, we're fear, whatever else it is. We go, God, I'm in fear, right? I'm angry, I am angry, right? And so instead, we want to, again, take a step back and disassociate from it and understand we're just going through an experience known as anger, or an experience known as frustration. You are not it. What you are is not that thing. It's just something you've picked up. In the same way, you're not your clothes, but you put the clothes on. I am Dave, who is wearing this shirt. I'm not the shirt. And so in the same way, if anger comes in, I am not anger. My name is Dave, who is currently experiencing anger. I put on anger right now, but it's not me. And so you're going to create this disassociation from whatever the emotion is. And you're going to feel, when you do this, usually a lot of the intensity kind of going away, because now you're not hooked. It's like you were hooked and you were getting thrown around. Now you're kind of taking the hook out and you're looking at it and you're like, oh, what's that on the hook? Oh, it's some anger. Okay, I'd bitten into some anger here, but now you've removed it and you're able to watch it. You know it's not you because you're now the one observing it. And then once you've done this, you've created that separation. One way I like to create the separation is, I am Dave, I am a spiritual being in a human body, simply going through the experience of what's known as anger or frustration or fear or whatever else it is. And I will almost always notice that immediately helps me feel a lot better. But again, we're not letting it off the hook. We're not then going, okay, great. What you then do is you just allow and observe. That's it. You allow and observe. You don't create a story or commentary around it. Well, I'm angry because of this. Again, we're associating to it again. So we don't need the story. We don't need to know all this other stuff of why. And, when I was 3.5 years old, I fell off my bike and the girl laughed at me and et cetera, et cetera. We don't need to know that, right? It's not useful in this situation. We just need to allow whatever the emotion is. So we look at the emotion, we observe it. Again, we disidentify. We're now in the observer spot. We're in that powerful place of the observer, and we just allow. And if you do this, it's said for about 60 to 90 seconds, whatever that emotion is will turn into neutrality or joy within that time. And you'll notice this happening. And one other thing I will say is if you notice this emotion moving, so let's say it starts in the stomach and it's like now move to your arms or your chest or whatever else, continue to observe it. Just watch it. Don't judge it. Go like, oh, why are you going there? What are you doing here? Just watch it. So you feel it. It's in the stomach. Oh, okay. Now I notice it's in the chest. Interesting. Okay. Keep observing it. You're looking at it. You're not making it a part of you. Oh, now it's in my head. And you will notice that it starts to leave because you're shining the spotlight on it and you're not letting it leave the spotlight. That's important. We're not then turning away and letting it bury itself deep again. We are observing it until it has been released or it's transmuted and again, integrated now into this neutrality or joy. Now, the second technique is exactly the same, except you're going to do this for longer. And there's a few other things you can do with a longer technique. Again, with the first one, it takes about a minute or two. You might need a little bit longer, because you're feeling this out, maybe 5 minutes, but it's well worth doing. You're going to be able to shift your state so quickly when you do this, and you will start releasing certain anchors through doing this, because even if you're only getting a chunk of the iceberg, you're still getting a big chunk. You still might have gotten a little anchor that was starting to build up that you've now cleared. Now we want something to help us go after those bigger anchors. So with this one, you're usually going to have something in mind that you're going for. Now, a great way, again, to figure out what this is after you've done those initial ones that you've gone for and you've cleared those is, again, what were those triggers? What were those things you cleared in the moment with the shorter technique? Do those keep coming up? So let's go for that in an actual intentional session where we're going to go for that anchor. So let's say it's anger, or let's say it's an event or a memory or whatever else it is and the emotions that come up from that. So you're going to bring that up. Now, it's important that you feel this as deeply as you can. So don't avoid it, confront it. So it might be uncomfortable for a moment because you can feel the anger swelling up, but you're going to do the same thing. You're going to notice it. You're going to identify it. You're going to see where it's at. You're going to realize it's not you, and you're just going to allow and observe. And you're going to do this for a prolonged period of time. Now, the difference when you do this is you may notice a few different things happening. Because again, one of the biggest mistakes here is, oh, it cleared, like in the small one, I'm done. Stay with it for 30 minutes and see if anything else comes up. Because a lot of times there will be this initial surface level thing that happens. So let's say it's anger, but then beneath it will be sadness, or beneath it might be shame or guilt or some other emotion. And so we're going to just stay with it, and just whatever it turns into or whatever's beneath it, we're going to continue to do the same things. We're like, okay, there's anger in my stomach. Just gonna watch this. I am not the anger. I'm just simply a person experiencing this emotion known as anger. And we're watching it. Oh, it's gone up to the chest. Oh, now it's turned into something different. The anger's gone, but I feel some deep sadness. I'm just going to watch that. Okay, cool. Not judging it. I'm not commentating in the sense of creating a story around it. I'm just watching it, allowing it, and observing, and then see whatever else comes up. And this is just what you do for the 30 minutes. You allow and observe, observe and allow. And you will be amazed at what happens when you do this. And one of the things to recognize with this, the effects a lot of times will be revealed later. This is what's called a nonlinear practice, meaning it's not A plus B equals C. It'll be you do this, and then seemingly something completely unrelated will come in, but it absolutely is related. It just happens in this nonlinear way as you do this practice. And so those are two techniques. Let's jump into another one I want to give you that will take more time to get good at, but I'm going to give you some of the things you can do today that are more simple. That's amazing at clearing these blocks and activate your energy system right away. Now, a lot of people have heard of the technique known as EFT. EFT is a very effective technique. However, what if I told you it's actually derived or a derivative of a much more advanced and effective technique? I forget the person who came up with EFT, or we'll just say took EFT. I think it's Daniel Craig, not Daniel Craig. I forget his name, but ultimately something Craig, something like that. And ultimately he was a student of someone who is known as Roger Callahan. Now, Roger Callahan came up with a technique, or should I say discovered and kind of brought together this technique known as TFT, and that is called thought field therapy. And in the early days of thought field therapy, the person who essentially showed EFT to the world was a student of Roger Callahan, took the early days of TFT and then spread it out to the world. However, it is an incomplete version of TFT, and I believe Roger Callahan even says we do not endorse EFT. That's not what we do. It is a taken version, an early version of TFT that was basically taken and then distributed unauthorized, right? He didn't go say, oh yeah, go ahead and do that. So basically that's what it was. Now, EFT has still helped a lot of people and is very useful, and so it's worth using. But TFT is the one that gets phenomenal results. I mean, EFT, it says, will work for about 4 to 5 out of 10 people. It'll still work to a certain degree with most things, but in fully clearing someone, TFT, it's closer to 9 point something out of 10. Like most people will be able to get clearings with TFT because it utilizes a lot of different things that are more effective. Now, I can't go over TFT fully here because it's very, very involved. There's too many moving parts. This would be, it would have to be multiple training videos. It's something we go over with our clients at a much deeper level, and I'll work with them to basically do clearings with them to show them how to do them themselves. But I'm still going to give you some things that you can work with that are going to help right away from TFT. And some of this is probably involved in EFT as well, because again, it's coming from TFT. So something I want to go over first that's very important to understand is what's called reversal. And this is something that Roger Callahan identified as one of the biggest problems in basically most people's lives when it came to clearing. I think he said it was his most important discovery in the whole body of work, and he did this for decades, for a very long time. It's a huge body, lifetimes worth of work. And basically what he discovered is most people are in what's called reversal, and it's essentially what I mentioned earlier, which is their energy system is down, or it's going in reverse, meaning that the healing that would naturally occur if it's functioning properly is not there. It means that it's very hard to think clearly. It means also disease starts to set in because the energy system of the body, the energy system of the person is down or in what's called reversal. And so we're very quickly just going to go over one of the best ways and simple ways to correct this. Now, again, when you have bigger reversals, you need to do a little bit more, but there's a very, very easy way to actually correct a reversal and get your energy system online. And in this day and age, there's so many things that can throw us into reversal. There are toxins, there's certain frequencies, so many things. When you eat terrible food, for example, when you're kind of exposed to certain frequencies, but it's nothing to get fearful about or neurotic about. Again, you just correct yourself when you're in that reversal, and when you're in a lower level of consciousness or realize you're getting hooked, it usually means you are in reversal. Now, there's a couple easy things that we can do to get ourselves out of reversal, and the very first simple one is to tap the side of your hand and simply think or feel or say out loud, I am testing correctly. The reason we say that is because we use applied kinesiology or muscle testing when in TFT, and if you're not testing correctly, you get what's called reverse answers, which is why it's called reversal. And so if you're not testing correctly, you need to first correct yourself before you can get accurate answers with muscle testing. And so we just tap the side of our hands, and I'll have it come on screen in just a second of what that looks like. It's very, very simple. It's basically like the karate chop part of your hands. You're going to tap them both together to get both sides, and you're just going to think or say out loud, I am testing correctly. Now, another thing you can do is called rubbing the tender spot. Now, you can think of this like your chest or where the heart chakra is, and you're just going to stimulate this area. You can do it multiple ways. You can do it like this. You can do it like this, up and down. You can use both hands. I've got a microphone, so I can't. And essentially, you're just going to acknowledge whatever's coming up. So, for example, let's say you're feeling a lot of frustration. You would just rub this area, so the tender spot right here. You would bring up that frustration and you would say something to the effect of this. Even though I am feeling frustration, it's okay. I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And you'll usually notice some kind of release or whatever else. And if another emotion comes up, you acknowledge that too. And you'll just say, let's say now it's sadness. Even though I am feeling sadness, it's okay. I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And if anything else comes up, you would just continue to acknowledge and to shed the light on whatever that is. Again, a lot of times we're in reversal because we're keying in these emotions. But the tender spot is amazing at clearing those, especially if you notice some emotional disturbance. And so whatever it is, just identify what it is. You can also use this for different things like even though I'm thinking about, right? Or even though I think, et cetera, et cetera. So you can try it for things like that as well. But this is a great one at clearing a reversal or correcting a reversal, and is also just a great technique to use in general. So if you're just feeling a little overwhelmed or whatever else, you can go to the tender spot, stimulate that area. Again, it's like stimulating the heart or the heart chakra, and you say those words, even though I am feeling whatever it is, it's okay. I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Now, the next one you will get also in EFT, because a lot of EFT is tapping, and this is tapping all of what's called the meridian points, which essentially stimulate your energy system. So all of these points will activate your whole energy system. And so I'll just take you through what those are. And essentially what you can do is just tap all of these points throughout the day, or when you're not feeling so great, and just do a couple rounds of it. Because what you're gonna do is, again, stimulate that system and help certain gunk get through it. It's kind of like the lymphatic system, if you know what that that is, where if you're too stagnant and you're not stimulating it through exercise, walking, for example, will stimulate it as well. You're kind of sitting too much. The lymphatic system gets clogged up, and it's like the waste disposal system of your body, and so you feel like crap. It's all this gunk is in that system. And so in the same way, we want to move this system as well, the energetic system, and tap all of these meridian points. So I'm just going to go through it now, and I'll have some footage on screen that shows you doing this. And it's very simple. When you do this for about 7, 10 to 15 times, where you're going to tap each of these points. And the first one is simply on the top of your head, and then we're going to move to the eyebrows. I'm just going to go through these very quick, but again, you can do this for 7 to 15 times each. So it's right kind of where your eyebrows on the end meet. Then it's the side of the eye, which is basically the temple spot. Then the next one is under the eye. So kind of right under the eye on both sides, under the nose, and then under the mouth. After that, there's the collarbone point on both sides, so kind of a little to the sides where the collarbone point is. Then it's under the arm, so you can either do what's known as like the monkey and get it, or you can kind of hug yourself and tap it there. Then it's the rib cage. Again, I'll have footage that shows this for you. Then we get to the hands, and you're going to do essentially a similar point that we just did, so the side of the hands, so you're stimulating that part. Then you're going to do the thumb, the index finger, the middle finger, the pinky, and then what's known as the gamut point. Now, the gamut point is basically doing the ring finger, if you're curious as to why we skipped that. So the gamut point is covering that point as well. And you can also then go ahead, if you want to cover all of it, do it on the opposite hand, so you're covering all the points. Now, this is going to stimulate your meridian system, the energy system within your body, and is amazing at clearing out blocks just by doing that alone. Now, again, with TFT, you can use what's called muscle testing or applied kinesiology to get very specific on what point you need to tap or which exercises within TFT you need to use to clear your specific problem or your specific block. And this is one of the things that makes TFT so powerful, is you can get a personalized algorithm essentially on exactly what to tap, how many times, what technique to do, how many times, and in what order to clear some of the bigger anchors. And I'm telling you, this works like magic. I've had sessions with people where I've helped them clear things, and essentially all I'm doing is helping them determine what it is they need to clear, and then I will instruct them on what to tap, on what techniques to do. I'll show them how to do it, and they just need to follow along essentially while bringing up the event or whatever it is the block is. And we've cleared things like fear of flying. I had a client who had a fear of flying, and we cleared it. It took about 30 minutes to clear it, and could have been even quicker, but we covered some other bases. And it took her 30 minutes, and now in the last year, she's flown 8 or 9 times. She just went from Australia all the way to America for an event. No fear. It's completely gone, and it was a crippling fear of flying before. Another person as well, we did this for fear of heights, and in 20 minutes cleared that for her. And she's basically looking over the balcony where it would have terrified her before, and she's like, I don't feel anything. I don't feel scared. This is how powerful this can be, and there's really not much off limits when it comes to what we can clear, right? So it really is that powerful and worth exploring deeply. However, what I've given you today is going to give you an amazing head start on using this. Again, the Hawkins techniques, you use those as well. Sometimes I'll do muscle testing and it'll tell me, yeah, go do the Hawkins technique. So it's also a very, very powerful and also a low barrier to entry technique that you can use. Now, again, if you want to learn these at deeper levels, along with so much more on reality creation, get coaching and mentorship from me, check out my programs down below. We have a monthly program at a very affordable rate, and then we have advanced coaching where you're going to work with me essentially in a tiny, small group over a period of months, where we're going to go over very deeply some stuff and help you get some amazing results. So you can check those out down below if you're interested. Now, one other thing I will recommend is going to watch this video next, where we go over essentially a forbidden book that elites try to erase from history. This is actually very real, and I'll go over the history of this, along what was contained in this book, the lessons all spelled out, and how to use them so that you can create even more powerfully in your life.